And now we are going to Outsiders, who give us a historical look at the black body as a product. With me is Herbert Samuels, a sex educator and professor of natural and applied sciences at LaGuardia Community College in New York, and also Murray Miller-Young, a women's studies professor at the University of California, Santa Barbara. Welcome to you both. So, Murray, let's start with you. Siabin found that black women were paid less, treated worse than other strippers. What do you think that says about the value that's placed on black women's bodies in general?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Siabin is very correct in her research. She talks a lot about, in her work, which I've read extensively, about the lower erotic capital of black women in the sex economy as being reflective of our lower value in the entire labor economy. And I think that in my work specifically looks at pornography, for example. You can see that in the production of the types of films that black women appear in. Lower production value, less of a kind of market, lower kind of values in how they treat the workers. Women are paid half to three-quarters of what white actresses tend to make. And this, reflects the ways in which black bodies have historically been devalued in our labor market since, slavery to the present. I think that it speaks to the ways in which there's this simultaneous problem of like a deep desire to have those bodies present and to consume those bodies as commodities, but a deep disgust for black people, our humanity, and our bodies at the same time that allows that devaluing to function.
Why do you want to study this? Why is this important?
I think that, part of the problem is that, our kind of freedom struggle has been like deeply masculinist, often misogynistic in its nationalism in terms of ignoring the kind of labors of not only women but gay people. Trans people. We have like a deep history that has kind of been articulated through homophobia and through erotophobia, and it's understandable. I mean, what Dr. Samuels was speaking of, that we have to understand from the beginning, slavery existed as a sexual economy, and that black bodies have always been sites of both breeders, but as concubines, they have been erotic, kind of illicit erotic commodities in an economy that is built upon our labor. And one of the ways in which black communities tried to deal with that is through kind of this culture of dissemblance, scholars discuss it, which is basically about disidentifying with sexuality, in total, in order to protect ourselves from that kind of symbolic and actual threat that, being hypersexual posed, particularly, for example, the kind of scapegoating of black people in lynching as being, sexual animals. So, we kind of understand the kind of politics of respectability then as a way to kind of, protect the community, but the problem is that it polices the community and disallows us to even talk about sex. So sex becomes the unspeakable, and it's so shocking and taboo within our own community for many people to talk about sex, let alone sexual labor. So something's happening where, and I think perhaps through the kind of popularization of hip-hop and the kinds of, hyper-consumption around black masculinity as it's being commodified throughout the world, there's a certain way in which, black men have come to stand in as, like, the symbol of sexual prowess.